So Guts and the others make it to the bottom level of the dungeon where Griffith's cell is. They open the dark room and laying face down, they see a body. But this body is nothing like the Griffith they knew. As Guts rushes over to him, he sees the damage that this last year has done. Griffith is skinny, down to the bones. His tendons have been cut. His tongue has been cut out. On his head is his helmet that he would always wear into battle, probably put on him to spite and humiliate him as he was tortured. The once leader of the fiercest mercenary band of all time is now reduced to a rotting piece of skin and bones. All his glory, every accomplishment he made, now gone. Guts opens his helmet and is shocked at what he sees. And we, as the reader, don't even get to see him without his helmet on. And Miura does a great job at displaying the shock in Guts' eyes. This way we know that this is horrible. We're not able to see Griffith's actual face. And with all like the crazy, disgusting, intricate drawings that Miura's made, the fact that he doesn't show Griffith's face in this instance really makes the reader fear a sense of just horrible, astonishment. Basically the same look that Guts is giving to Griffith as he sees him. Guts won't let Casca get close so that she won't see it either. As Griffith's eyes open, he tries to reach up to Guts' neck, perhaps attempting to choke him, blaming him for being in this situation to begin with. But Guts doesn't seem to understand this intention. He immediately hugs Griffith and even starts crying over him. Then the door behind them closes and the tiny torturer reveals that he's trapped them, and then begins to explain in extreme detail everything that he did to Griffith over the year, even keeping his tongue as a souvenir. Guts, in one fluid motion, stabs his sword through the door, breaking it into pieces, and impales the torturer over the edge of the staircase. After slicing off his tongue for some repayment, he drops the torturer down the corridor to his death. But now the guards are coming down the staircase as well. Word is out that they are there. They'll have to fight their way out. And then we get one of my favorite Guts rage moments ever. Imagine someone you looked up to and respected, someone that inspired you to try to find purpose in your own life. Someone you'd risk your life to save, has been beaten, cut, tortured beyond any recognition. And now you have the opportunity to take your anger and emotions out on a bunch of no-name, unimportant characters. And Guts does. Guts makes his way up the staircase just slashing and gutting every single one of them. My favorite is when he gets to the top and one man doesn't believe the rumors that Guts once killed 100 men single-handedly. He also sees that Guts is out of breath and tries to scold him to not show your enemies that. And then Guts just blasts the guy's fucking head off mid-sentence. So Guts leads the way and they all try to escape. I love that Griffith is being carried on Pippin's back. I don't know why, I just think it's fitting since Pippin is the biggest and, he's such the strong silent type that he would be the one to pick Griffith up and carry him. It's that type of little gesture that makes me love Pippin even more. We then cut to the king, who looks completely different than he did before. His hair has gone white, and it looks as though he's aged or decayed a bit. Almost as if he has some sort of sickness. I guess having a man you respected bang your daughter and then call you out on being a perverted, old, useless king really does take a number on you. Upon hearing that Griffith is escaping, he summons the Bakiraka, which are these guys. And I could go into detail describing what they look like and what they do, but it really isn't going to matter. Just that they're skilled assassins and that the king demands Griffith dead and the princess brought back unharmed. Going through the sewer to escape, Guts stops to catch his breath. Casca comes over and wipes some blood off his face, and a specific panel is dedicated to Griffith seeing this and having an odd reaction. Griffith is slowly going to uncover what's happened while he's been gone, what Guts means to everyone now, and how that messes with Griffith's notion of everything. But more on that later. There's also Princess Charlotte, who is running away with them, determined to be with Griffith no matter what. But then they are attacked, first from above, then from below. The Bakiraka have some interesting bodies and skills, but make no mistake, they are only human. The only one that makes an impact is one in the wall shooting a blow dart. Charlotte jumps in the way and is hit in the arm. This is basically Miura trying to come up with a way to leave Charlotte behind in the kingdom, and it works fairly well, if not a bit too obvious. The Bakiraka say that they'll take her as they have the antidote, and don't want to get in trouble with the king. Before she leaves, Griffith whispers something into her ear. They begin to attack once again, and another member begins throwing spears from down the hall of the sewer. Judo does a neat trick where his throwing knives create sparks to see in the dark, and then taking the spear thrower out. Guts then takes out the skinny one from above, and Casca wrecks the one from below. Another member, a woman and a fire starter, attacks them next. Pippin puts a hole in the ceiling, letting the fire escape without hitting them. And this leads into a funny little moment of Pippin mentioning that he worked as a miner at one time, where something similar happened. It gives you an idea that Pippin may have had a dream of his own as well at one point in time. That, and he knew he could break the ceiling because Griffith pointed out the moonlight that was coming through. So Griffith, even in his horrid, mutilated state, is still a warrior on the battlefield, giving directions. The king has the final Bakiraka member executed since they harmed the princess. Afterwards, Princess Charlotte begs him not to pursue Griffith any farther. The king agrees, making her happy, but as soon as she steps away, he orders the Black Dog Knights to pursue them. What are they exactly? Well, this is their leader banging a bunch of women and then killing them. His name is Wyald, and he was once a prisoner in Midland, and when the king's armies were short, he went to see if any of the prisoners would work for him. Wyald volunteered immediately. He's a strange ape-like looking man, and he shows a display of strength by hurling another prisoner on top of a building spike. I always thought this moment felt really awkward in the manga. Every once in a while, Berserk seems to step away into a shonen genre, even though that's not what it is. And this just felt like one, like testing the prisoner's strength against each other, and then he does something ridiculous to defeat the other prisoner. I mean, I know where they're going with Wyald, and we'll get there in a second, but that little moment in the courtyard where the king tests their strength, I just never really liked it. Also, I know I've said that from time to time Berserk reminds me of a shonen manga, well, particular scenes anyways, but it's not actually a shonen manga. But if you don't know what I mean by that, I guess I'll share a little bit on that. See, when it comes to manga, there's a couple of different types, I guess genres you would say. They're not really genres per se, but just a category that a type of manga will fit into. Shonen is kind of the manga that focuses on action, adventure, and usually stars, a younger protagonist kind of learning and growing throughout the years. These are basically like all the shows that were on Toonami back in the day. This is Dragon Ball Z, this is Yu Yu Hakusho, this is Rurouni Kenshin, this is all those shows. They are shonen manga. So they basically follow like a journey at adventure, and the demographic set for them is more of like younger males, like 12 to, 15 to 20, in that kind of age range. Berserk, on the other hand, is a type of manga that's normally most commonly referred to as a seinen manga, and this focuses on more like adult themes. It's more violent, has more of a psychological edge to it, has more nudity, more graphic things happening. So, basically a little bit more adult, a little bit more serious themes, more psychological, that kind of thing. But also, even Berserk's creator, Miura, has stated that Berserk also, for him, kind of falls into a shoujo genre. And that is actually a demographic that's more aimed towards women or young girls, and tends to focus more on romance and interpersonal relationships and the connections between people. And Berserk is very much about that as well, because there's so much to deal with the connections between, Guts and Casca and Griffith and all of the characters. So it kind of briefly falls into that demographic as well. There's also two more versions of manga, one that's more for adult women and one that's more for just particularly children, like younger children. But Berserk tends to filter between those three, I feel like. Between the seinen, the shoujo, and the shonen. Sorry, I'm trying to pronounce all these correctly. Now, I would definitely put it in the seinen genre, like I said, where it's more adult themes, more psychological, like what I said. But I completely understand why even the creator himself would say it's sort of a shoujo as well. And it kind of does hit that balance. So when I say that it reminds me of shonen anime, when it feels like it has that kind of tournament vibe, like something you would see in Dragon Ball, where it's just like this competition that we're having with Wyald, with the prisoners, to see who is the toughest prisoner that's going to lead the Black Dog Knights, something like that. That feels very shonen to me. Now, that might not be the case. That might just be my personal kind of feeling towards it, but particular scenes like that feel like that. So when I say that this reminds me of shonen, think something like that, when really Berserk is a seinen with some pieces of shoujo thrown in as well. Now on to Wyald as a character. We don't get him for too long. He pretty much just takes up the entirety of Volume 11, so that's really all we have to deal with him. And, I mean, what happens around him is interesting and I like, but him as a character, he's basically just typical edgelord. Like, this is, do you know what an edgelord is? Like, people that do edgy and say edgy things just to get a rise out of people and just to get that kind of satisfaction of like, oh, I can't believe he went there. That kind of feels like Wyald to me as a character, but just in a setting where he actually causes real harm to people and a ridiculous amount of harm to begin with. But just because of his violent tendencies, he just loves torturing, he loves molesting, he loves just doing all these horrible things, and the way he talks about it and the way he brags about it, it just seems like ultimate edgelord in the world of Berserk. Wyald is certainly not a human, and he is also not seen in either anime adaptation of the Golden Age arc. I can partially understand why, as omitting him from the story honestly doesn't change too much. Now, there are a few important factors about his appearance, but you could theoretically skip it, so I guess saving time and budget, it's a logical portion of the story to chop out. But I always thought about how many anime series are 26 episodes long. You got Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, Trigun, many more. And Berserk is 25 episodes. Couldn't they have just added that one more episode and then they could have done Wyald in a single episode? I don't know, just my thoughts. But anyways, Guts and the others get on some horses and a wagon from some friendly looking folk outside the kingdom. And while leaving, Griffith looks back at the kingdom in the distance. A nice little moment to show how far his dream is now. He was there, but now he has to run away as a fugitive. And with that, he sees the castle moving farther and farther into the distance. Similarly, in the flashback that we got before of Griffith as a child, he was running towards the castle, and now being brought away. But not long after they leave, Wyald and his knights show up, massacre the friendly people that helped Guts out. They attack them, burn them, molest them, and put their body parts on spikes, and begin to chase the Hawk members down on horseback. Okay, so maybe this is why it was never animated? With Wyald and his band of Black Dog Knights approaching, Guts decides to run back and face them as the others continue on. Without even asking him to, Pippin joins Guts, and we get a really badass tag team combo that I really wish we could have seen more of. They make a particular note that the men aren't backing down, despite Guts and Pippin easily handling them. Guts comes face to face with Wyald on the battlefield and swings his sword at him. Wyald catches it in his hand like it was nothing. Upon this happening, Guts gets a shocking feeling through his body, something he's felt before. He thinks about Zod and the Skull Knight. He knows that this man is not human. Him and Pippin turn back and head towards the bridge that the others set up to explode. They make it across, and it blows up as the Black Dog Knights go over it. Many men wind up dying, but Wyald demands that they continue forward. One man suggests that they maybe not go right into the enemy's hands, and Wyald grabs his face and crushes it with his bare hands. He demands that they shout their battle cry, and with that we see why these men never turn back. Wyald has all of them captured by fear. No one is allowed to abandon the fight, no matter how hopeless it seems, or he will simply kill them himself. So all these criminals are basically fighting just out of the fear of not being killed by their leader. The escaping Hawks do everything they can to try to stop their pursuers. They drop boulders, set fire, but nothing works. At last they get to where the rest of the Hawk members are, minus Rickert's group in another location, but they all got massacred, so we don't need to worry about them, except for Rickert. He's still out there somewhere. And Corcus, always wanting to give a command, sends the troops down to be their backup, and a giant battle occurs. The Hawks fight against the Black Dogs, and in the midst of the fight, Guts and Wyald find their way to each other once again. Guts strikes hard and fast, but Wyald matches every blow and even catches a sword in his teeth. Cut back to Griffith in the cave, only watching the fight. He goes to grab his sword, but it just falls over as he's unable to hold it. Once again, a reminder of how far that he has fallen. It's in his nature to take charge and command of his troops, but instead he is a limp and unimportant member in this battle. But luckily, the Band of the Hawk tends to outmatch the Black Dogs, and the Black Dogs themselves want to retreat, but Wyald will not let them, even knocking over a tree and crushing those who want to run off. Now imagine, some of the Hawk members did see Zod with their own eyes, so there's an awareness of otherworldly beings being out there, but here, all of them are seeing a man catch a sword in his mouth and knock over a tree with a punch. They are shocked and scared and unsure of where this will go. And where it's going is Wyald stating that he doesn't want to wait for the eclipse. He wants to start the party himself, and with that, in front of everyone, he transforms into a giant demon. 3 eyes, a giant mouth, and looks down at Guts, ready to kill. I mentioned this being cut out of the anime, and I get it in a sense of showing us a demon right in front of all the Hawk members might bring a slightly smaller impact when the eclipse hit and they see a bunch of demons. But in the manga, I think it really does work well. And what it will serve to do for the story is giving Guts his first one-on-one fight with an apostle, and is a precursor to the lengths that Guts will have to go in order to kill just one of them. So this is where I'm going to end for now, guys. Thanks a lot for watching these videos. I really do appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to. We're getting to the nitty-gritty here. The Golden Age arc is about to ramp up and get to its climax, so I'm very excited to get in depth with it and share it with you guys. So let me know what you think down below about the whole Wyald situation. Do you think it was smart to leave it out of the anime? Do you wish you've seen it animated? And what do you think about Wyald as a character and the whole volume 11, everything that happens in it? So let me know what you think down below. We'll finish up the Wyald portion in the next video, and then we're getting to the eclipse, everybody. Thanks a lot. See you next time.